I'd like to hear from Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm pleased to speak in part two of this bill on the KiwiSaver and Working for Families cuts. And I'd just like to say that this government makes stuff up, and that that is what this budget is based on. And we have heard so much stuff that has been made up, and since I've been sitting in the House this morning, I have heard a lot of it. And before the budget was released a few days ago, there was a headline that appeared in one of the papers that said that this budget was going to be about higher wages and more jobs. What a load of rubbish. Absolutely. We've heard that this budget is about the next generation and protecting the next generation. Well, what a load of rubbish that is, because where are the jobs for that generation? Where are the decent wages? What's to stop them from going overseas? And that is one of the major issues that this budget should have addressed. And we've heard also from another member who has claimed that there is so much innovation happening in New Zealand right now that as a result of his government. What a load of rubbish that is. There is nothing in this budget that promotes innovation, will promote jobs, will promote strong export-led industries, which is what this budget needs. Instead, we've got cuts. Cuts to KiwiSaver, cuts to Working for Families, which is what Part 2 is about, and instead of actually providing the thing that we need most. John Key was on Radio Dunedin this morning, just a few minutes before I was, and he was asked, where are these 170,000 jobs going to come from? He fudged it. He didn't have an answer, because there is no answer from this government in this budget. This budget should have been about hope. It should have been given people hope for the future, that things are going to get better, that they're going to be able to pay their bills, that they're not going backwards, worse still, that they're not going to end up in financial strife, that their kids are going to get jobs when they leave school, that they won't go to Australia. Unfortunately, it's about cuts. Cuts to KiwiSaver. KiwiSaver, which is the thing that is growing, the thing that is actually giving people incentive to save, and it is going to provide certainty for people's future. Instead, we're seeing cuts, and we're seeing the burden placed on employees and employers, and we're not, as you've heard in the previous speakers on this side of the House, you're not going to see wage growth. Making stuff up. It's not too much to ask to provide hope, a budget that gives us hope as a nation, a budget that's going to set a course for the future, is going to show us where those jobs of the future are going to come from. Peter Dunn earlier in this debate talked about equity. Equity for who? I thought to myself, equity for who? Well, it's not all of those hundreds of thousands of families across the country that are struggling with their budgets every week, not knowing whether they're going to be able to afford to pay their bills, their telephone bills, their electricity bills, the bills that they have to pay, their rent or their mortgages, let alone petrol, and their food bills. Not just, bills that are about things like buying new clothes or thinking about going on a holiday, the bills that they have to pay to get through the week, through the month. Where does this budget address that? Nowhere. Instead, it's a budget that just makes stuff up. 170,000 jobs, 170,000 jobs. Where are they going to come from? I've heard what Stuart Nash had to say earlier on today about the forestry sector, that the jobs are going in the forestry sector. And we've heard that John Key talks about commodity prices going up, or commodity prices are strengthening, so therefore the jobs are going to come from that. Where are they going to come from? They're not going to come from the manufacturing industry, let me tell you that. Because if this government could actually invest some money instead of cutting KiwiSaver and cutting Working for Families. If this government could invest some money in this economy in a way that actually stimulated the economy, stimulated skills in the economy. Mr Chair.
The Honourable Peter Dunn.
Chairman, I'm glad